Welcome to the podcast. I am Becky.
And I am Leah.
And joining us for this episode are podcast contributors, Rachel and Heather. Hey, friends.
Hello.
Hello.
So this was totally my pick, I think, on the Trope Talks. Not that they aren't all my picks.
It was totally your pick.
But I do believe that we all learned something here. Y'all like a wedding.
We do all like a wedding.
I have a very specific niche that I enjoy.
I discovered I like a Vegas wedding.
Yes, I like a Vegas wedding, not so much wedding dates.
No, I had a hard time with wedding date.
I do.
I have a lot of runaway bride.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh. Okay, so on this episode,
we're like the same people. Like this is why we like each other.
So this episode might be a little top heavy into one of our subtropes over another. So on this episode of Buzzing About Romance, we are back with the Trope Talk. We are talking all about the wedding. We are talking the wedding date, the wedding planners, the wedding party, the Vegas wedding, and the jilted bride or groom, because I have a jilted groom.
Same.
And I discovered that I do not read a lot of those. But that's okay.
That's okay.
I have some of them. Don't you worry.
I asked people and I got a lot of the same. So not that I didn't appreciate it.
It's hard to find the jilted groom though. So authors, if you're listening, please write us more jilted grooms. Because the ones that I have read, I really enjoy.
Well, and I was on Twitter the day that I was making my list because I realized that one particular author that we all adore and love has a thing for weddings.
Mm-hmm.
Kelly Jamieson, in every single one of her series, has at least 2 wedding-based romances.
Yeah, and 2, not just 1, 2.
Because she has a Vegas wedding, she has a jilted bride or runaway bride, she has
a wedding planner,
and she has wedding date hookups, and she has a jilted groom.
My 2 favorite series. I mean, like my favorite series too. So I'm not sad.
And I did ask her if maybe we could have a wedding romance somewhere in New York. And she said she's working on it. So.
Of course she is. Yeah, because the New York Bears ones, they don't have any weddings yet.
There isn't a wedding
at
yet.
all.
No.
None.
No. In the last one, Good Hands, he has to go back to New York for the one people's wedding. But he doesn't invite her, remember?
Oh, that's right.
And I really thought he was a bit of a douchebag for doing that. So,
you thought he was a bit of a douchebag for a lot of the book.
Even book boyfriends can't be perfect, Becky.
This is unless it's
Wild. Yeah, Wild is perfect. And Gage. Sorry, number one. So, what is not shocking is there are a lot of romances books that take place around weddings. Like I ended up with a list of like 40 some. And I'm sure that there are some that I haven't read that we missed. So I will say, here's my little commercial. One of my favorite wedding romances is The Bride by Julie Garwood. If you like historical romances, you should check out our sister podcast, Corset and Crown, wherever you listen to the podcast. Lady Sadie and Duchess Katie bring you all the historical romance book recs, and that is a book I'm trying to get those 2 to read. So there is that. It's excellent. She marries him to kind of, escape from the evil king that's trying to marry her to somebody else for her land. Anyway, and there's Highlander and he growls a lot. It's excellent. Okay, so let's ask this and get this out of the way. In real life, are you a wedding person? Do you like to go to weddings?
I do.
I like to go to receptions.
That's because you like the booze.
My husband and I's first date was a wedding.
Oh yeah.
Was it a fake date or was it a real date to the wedding?
We were working together and he
needed a date.
I had to go to I was going to a wedding and I asked him because he was too chicken to ask me out. So I did it.
Okay.
I love that.
I don't really love them because I don't like to dance. So unless there's a lot of booze at the reception, I don't want to be there. But Pennsylvania has a cookie table, so that wins everything.
What's
A
a
what?
cookie table?
You've never heard of the cookie table?
I have seen a
No.
donut table at a wedding.
It's literally like dozens and dozens of different types of cookie. I think it's a Western PA thing where you have like a cake, but it's like you have a table full of cookies.
Hmm.
It's so many cookies. Like that's the
Interesting.
best
That's
part.
awesome.
The
I like
booze
cookies.
and the cookies.
So a big thing here is like after like you get into the reception and around 10:30, 11, they bring in like a whole round of like bar food, like snacks to
Mm,
soak up all the booze, and then you have like another hour and a half to party and drink
to
and
sober up.
dance.
Yes,
Mhm.
I like that.
I feel like as long as there's food and booze, Rachel's there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm from small town Ohio. I have a big family, so it's like if you don't like weddings, your life just sucks because you got a lot of weddings to go to. So they're fine.
You're fine.
They're
I
always
like cake.
fun. I mean,
I like wedding cake.
I don't like cake, so maybe that's
I
the
like
problem.
wedding cake too.
What? You don't like
That is the
cake,
problem.
Leah?
No, I like honestly, if I never ate cake again, I would be fine. I
I
like
don't
a
like
cheesecake
icing.
and I like a pie, but I don't like cake.
Oh,
I'll eat
I don't know
cake.
about that, Leah. I don't know
I'll eat
about that.
it.
Mm. I'm now second thinking our friendship.
friendship.
I have
Give me an
questions.
ice cream cake and I'm happy. But a regular cake,
What about
No.
cupcakes?
My
nah.
husband's birthday is this
They're
month, and
okay.
we just had his party. And I was like, "What do you want?" And he's not a cake person either, so he likes cookie bars. So I
Mhm.
made him cookie bars.
Like my kids, I make cookie cakes for them, or I made the girl child a brownie ice cream cake with like a fudgy cookie crumble in the middle. It was delightful.
Yeah. We eat a lot of ice cream cake for birthdays, but I like a good cake. Sorry, I'm not gonna lie, I like a good cake. Okay, and then we'll get into these subtropes. But do you have
Yeah.
any wacky wedding traditions in the area you live in? Because that was something I was thinking about as I was reading these books. Sometimes we get wedding traditions, and sometimes we don't.
A really
Mm.
common thing is, you know, that song that's like you and me going fishing in the dark.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, people get on the ground and act like they're like rowing a boat and
Oh
going
yeah.
fishing.
So in the county just west of us,
That one. Yes.
in the county just west of us, if a younger sibling marries before older siblings, the older siblings have to dance in a hog trough.
Yes.
I don't know what.
Hog
That
trough.
sounds disgusting.
Like a hog feeder. It's
No.
clean. It's decorated.
Is it
it's-
ever clean though? It's a
Well,
hog
they buy a
trough.
new one. It's and they
But that's
decorate
the
it
same
with
county
flowers.
where they do the fishing thing.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. Anyway. Like there's jumping a
Interesting.
broom, there's the lasso, there's all
Yeah,
sorts.
we don't. I mean, I'd say the cookie cake is like the only traditional thing we have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about the subtropes of the wedding in romance. So we are going to give you each subtrope and then 1 to 2 recs per subtrope. I'm just going to tell you something dynamic about that book or something that sticks out about that book. All books will be linked in a TBR on our website. You will find it in our on the shelf show notes. So after you listen to the episode, you should go to buzzingaboutromance.com and look for our on the shelf show notes, and that will link you to the TBR for all the books that we'll mention this episode. Okay, so first up, let's talk wedding date. Apparently, nobody likes a wedding date.
Well, I like a wedding date, but
Mhm.
I don't know. I guess I just couldn't find ones that I really, really liked when we were doing this. But I like the wedding date because there's always that fake relationship dynamic to it. And sometimes the reasoning for the wedding date to happen is pretty entertaining.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree.
I always like a wedding date, particularly if it's kind of a please go with me because my ex is going to be there and I can't show up alone. A lot of times it's a fake date into the wedding date. Or, oh my God, my mother will not leave me alone because I haven't had a real date. And she's got my sister's cousin's 12th
Mhm.
removed neighbor is there for a setup. So I need you to come with me.
Or it's the
And
guy who's like, I don't want to be subjected to the family being like, so when are you going to go like have a relationship? When are you going to have kids? Like, so
Mhm.
he takes a +1 to give the illusion that he's working his way to that.
yeah. Yeah. Okay. So let's start off with you, Heather. Give us a wedding date romance.
5 Day Fiance by Mickey Miller is the one I got.
That's a good
It
one.
was very cute. I love that series.
Mhm.
She kind of is desperate for this like super outgoing guy to go with, and he like wins the hearts of everyone, including her, obviously.
Yeah, it's a
It was very
destination
cute.
one too, which is
Mhm.
fun.
Yep,
Uh,
that's cute.
What about you, Leah? What's a wedding date for you?
Man Cuffed by Serena Bowen and Tanya Eby. So it's book 4 in the series. It's a standalone. It's McGuire and Meg. They meet in the not so typical ways. They're neighbors. She mistakes him for a stripper. Their walls are very thin. It's a really funny series.
That is a funny series. I like that series a lot.
I do too.
Rachel, who's your wedding date?
So I have not read a lot of wedding date books at all, but the first one I think I probably read and I really enjoyed was The Wedding Date by Jasmine Guillory. It's traditionally published, but it's like they met in an elevator and like decided to be fake dates to a wedding. It was a lot of fun, and it's traditionally published, which I don't read a lot of, but it was really good.
Yeah,
I like fake
Mhm.
dating, so fake wedding dates perfect.
it kind of is. So 4 Day Fling, I talk about this book all the time, by Emma Hart. It is the perfect wedding date romance. She has a one night stand with the hockey player and doesn't know who he is, and then invites him to be her date to her sister's destination wedding. And come to find out, he's like the whole family's favorite hockey player. So funny. So much awkwardness. Grandpa's a handful and goes to the strip club all the time, and he has to save Grandpa.
I love when there's like an
Hilarious.
Me too.
older character who's just like
I
does
mean,
what they want.
seriously, it's been almost 3 years. I've been screaming about this book. I need someone else to read this book. It's so good. Okay, Heather, do you have another wedding date?
I have Slapshot by Kelly Jamieson. It's in the Chicago Aces series. It's actually a pretty emotional read. Well, I shouldn't. Maybe they were a wedding date, but they were at the same wedding together. Like they
Well, they
were.
were there as guests, and then they have a one night stand.
Yeah, and it's a really. I don't want to give it away because he's a really great guy, and it's a really emotional read, and it's just great. I love it.
Leah, do you have another wedding date?
Yeah, it's Cowboy Seeking a Wedding Date by Janice Whitaker. It is book 3 in the series Nora and Brooks. Nora is a fish out of water in this small town. She's a city girl. Family is a huge part of this series, and it's cowboys, people. It's cowboys.
Well, it needs some cowboys.
Mhm.
Rachel, do you have another wedding date?
I don't. The only other one I had was 4 Day Fling by Emma Hart.
Have you read
I agree,
it?
Becky. Yes, I love that book. That's one of my favorite Emma Hart books.
Same. That
So
and
much fun.
Catastrophe Queen.
Catastrophe.
She loses her
Oh,
underwear
yeah.
out of her pants.
Love
Hilarious.
it.
Hilarious. Okay, so another wedding date one for me is The Wedding Dilemma by Mariah Inkeman. It's not a traditional wedding date romance, but there is a body cast. She is saved by firefighters. Come to find out, the firefighter is her dad's fiance's son.
Mhm.
And they have a connection. Hilarious. Hilarious firefighters and a body cast. I mean,
And just the way that they meet is perfect in that book.
perfect meet cute. Okay, so next we are headed to The Runaway Bride. And I love the Julia Roberts movie, Runaway Bride.
Yeah.
Like, I love that.
Mhm.
And I think that it was that movie that really like kicked me to go find more Runaway Bride romances back in the day.
Mhm.
So I have quite a few of these.
I
So,
do too. I like Runaway Bride.
okay, Rachel, kick us off with a runaway bride.
So the first one I have is The Gambler by Denise Grover Swank. This one's fun. It's friends to lovers. The hero decides he has to stop his best friend's wedding because he's in love with her, but she's already run away. So
Is that part of the series that The Substitute is
it
part
is.
of?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's the third book in the Wedding Pact series. It's NKU,
Yeah.
which is great.
It's also on
I
Any
love
Play.
that series.
It's also on Any Play. So funny. The Substitute, like, she got jilted.
So good.
And she won't tell her mom that the groom isn't coming. So she meets a guy on the airplane and convinces him to be her groom.
Just finds another groom.
Just
why not?
Anyway, that series is so
Whatever
good.
works.
Anyway, I
Oh my
laugh, I
gosh.
giggle every time that series comes up because it's so funny.
Because we're not supposed to add to my TBR during these.
Right?
I know. I saw Heather pick up her phone, which means she's going to Any Play to be like,
Or dropping it under her
And to
Kindle.
play.
add to list. Leah.
Okay, so my first one is Hot Seal Bride by Lynn Ray Harris. It is so Ella is a princess and she runs away from her arranged marriage to a bad dude, and Cash saves her. It's very good.
Heather, who's a runaway bride for you?
Well, I have okay. It is called Unhitched by Jillian Neal, and it is in the Camden Ranch series. We had read Jillian Neal for our book club, and she
Second
had
book
a
club
runaway
ever.
bride. Yeah, she had a runaway bride. So then I went and found this series, and it's in KU, the Camden Ranch series. Her dad is like the sheriff, and she finds out that her fiance is cheating on her. She like leaves. They're in the middle of like Nebraska, Wyoming. I'm totally out.
Nebraska.
Brain farting.
Nebraska.
Yep. And it's like a tornado, and she rear ends this guy, and he like saves her. And then they go to his grandpa's house, and the grandpa is a flippin' hoot, you guys. And it is very, very sexy. These people cannot keep their hands off of each other, and they're like kind of dirty and kinky.
I just
and
read
love
book
it.
1 in this series, you guys. And for me, I'm flipping through the pages and I'm like, holy shit, there's a plot here. I'd like to get back to the plot. Could you please stop having sex?
That never happened. And they're cowboy. I failed to mention. He's a
And there's
cowboy.
cowboys.
He's a rancher and a cowboy.
Yeah.
And he explains to her in the book, you guys, he explains to her the difference between a rancher and a cowboy. And let me tell you, it'll make
And
you
there's
fall in love
visual
with a
aids,
rancher.
probably.
It's so good. It's so good. And
Yeah.
I have a feeling we're going to be talking a lot more about this series
Yeah,
because we
because-
fall in love with cowboys.
Yeah. It has the Yellowstone vibes that I've been looking for that series that has the Yellowstone vibes. The Camden
Yes.
Ranch has the Yellowstone vibes without all the extra angsty drama, just a lot of sex. Okay. Is it my turn to pick
It's your
up
turn.
Runaway Bride?
Yeah.
Because I love all of these. Okay, so I'm going to go with I have so many. Let's do Take a Chance on Me by Jennifer Dawson. This is a small town romance. She ends up in a bar on her wedding day. She drove and ran out of gas and falls in love with the bartender. And it's just a really great romance. The whole series is around these 4 siblings in this small town. And I just really like Jennifer Dawson. Not many talk about her. Her books were in my library and I read them years ago. And I really enjoyed them. And I did a reread recently for our small town. So highly recommend them. Okay, does anyone else have another runaway bride they want to share? Go on,
Yes.
Somebody, I don't
Go
care.
ahead, Rach. Go, Rach. Rach, go.
Okay, I was gonna say Hooking Up by Helena Hunting. It's like book 2 in that Shacking Up series.
Okay, but don't you think
And-
that's Jilted Bride? Because I have it listed as Jilted Bride. No,
She like just straight up runs away though. Like
but they're already married.
I think it could be both.
It could be both.
I think it could be both because technically they're already married, so she's not jilted or run away.
Right.
But instead of sticking around and being embarrassed, she just takes off and leaves him to deal with
Wait,
it.
is that the one that Becky talks about things that happen at the reception with the hot mic?
Yes, the hot
Yes.
mic. The groom is getting a blowjob in a closet from another wedding guest, and it
Yep.
comes over the loudspeaker in the reception.
And she runs.
Yeah.
So I think it could be either.
Okay, I'll give it.
Hmm.
I love that book, so I'm glad somebody else brought it up because it was on my list. I'm like,
I've got another one. Reckless Miles by Claire Kingsley. He is actually like oh my God. It just it's your typical runaway bride. She's a virgin. She runs into him at his family's vineyard and they hook up and he is like, yeah, you're not leaving. And it's great. Actually, that whole series, The Miles Family, just read it. She's in KU and great book.
Leah, do you have
Okay.
another runaway bride?
Yeah. Excuse me. Rockaway Bride by Pippa Grant. So it's Willow and Dax. Dax is this like, it's over the top like rom-com, but it's one of those ones that it really works for you. But I laugh like the entire book. But Willow runs away from her wedding and then she gets kidnapped by Dax, but she's already run away. And it's like all this chaos is happening, but it's just really funny.
Okay, so I will do The Wrong Kind of Love by Lexi Ryan. And I do this begrudgingly because I love Lexi Ryan, so that is not why. But this is book one that kicks off her Boys of Jackson Harbor series, and she's a runaway bride. She finds out that her sister is currently pregnant with a baby from her fiance that they've been running around behind her back. And she runs and ends up in Michigan being the nanny position that her sister was supposed to take. Anyway,
and they're twins also.
And they're twins. And anyway, in Lexi's latest book in that series, she actually makes me hate the hero. And up until that point, Dr. Ethan was like my favorite. And then
he was a douche nugget of epic proportions.
She made me not love him anymore. So The Wrong Kind of Love by Lexi Ryan. It's a great runaway bride, but it's also like a really phenomenal series. So, okay. I do want to mention, just because we said she had one in almost every category. So Game Changer by Kelly Jamieson is a runaway bride also.
And
Heather and
we
I
fight over Jackson Win all the time.
Yeah, Heather and I did a quick shot for Jackson, so you can find that in your podcast feed. So anyway, we're just going to give the Kelly Jamieson rec in each of these.
For sure.
Okay, so next we are going to the Vegas wedding because Leah tells us this is what she reads the most of.
I read a lot. Okay, so my first Vegas wedding is He Loves Me, He Loves Me Not by Iris Moreland. So it is Liam and Mary. Mary is in Vegas. They get super drunk. It's the tequila people. The tequila is at fault. And Liam is an Irishman and she wants nothing to do with this wedding, but he's like, we're staying together. This is what we're doing. Like, he does everything in his power to make sure that she is all in. But it is really funny. And Iris Moreland is one of those authors who you don't always hear about, but you definitely should, because she writes a really dynamic and funny book.
Rachel, do you have a Vegas wedding?
I do. So my first one is Blind Pass by Tegan Hunter. It's the second in her Carolina Comets series. It's in KU. They obviously get drunk and married in Vegas. The guy is a hockey player. The girl is the best friend of the heroine in book one. And it's total grumpy sunshine. The guy's a total grump. It's so funny. And they stay married for a variety of reasons, but it was really funny and really good.
I haven't read that series. I really need to bump that up on my TBR.
I love it.
I know you do. And I really feel
so
like
good.
I feel like it would be, I heard it's really funny. It's really dynamic. I just need to read it.
You do.
Heather, first Vegas wedding.
Is Dreammaker by Stacey Lynn. So it's a hockey romance. They are the Vegas Vipers and they are out celebrating and they wake up married. He's a hockey player and she's a teammate's sister. So there's some of that dynamic, and they stay married, and I really like the characters a lot. It isn't very hockey heavy, and it's really focused on their relationship and making a marriage work. And it's one of my favorites in the series.
Yeah, that's a really good one. I like the dynamic of the way that she treated that.
Yeah, me too.
So for my first Vegas wedding, I'm going to go with My Unexpected Vow by Harlow James. They get super drunk, get married in Vegas, and then wake up and then for reasons decide to stay together. It's a sibling's best friend. That is my favorite Harlow James series. That those 3 books, her California Billionaire series, I think is one of her best. So I really like it. My Unexpected Vow. Okay. What's next, Leah? Who's your next Vegas wedding?
My next Vegas wedding is Until Ashlyn by Aurora Rose Reynolds, because I just love her so much. This is Ashlyn Mason and Dylan Keck's story. He is her boss and is kind of a dick to her because he wants her so bad, but he doesn't know what to do about it. But so they go to Vegas in this conference, and he kind of takes advantage of the fact that she's really drunk and marries her, even though she's super drunk. And yeah. And he is all in, and he's a dirty, dirty boy. It's delightful and super like possessive, because if it's Aurora Rose Reynolds hero, like they're uber possessive.
She does like a possessive hero.
Mm-hmm.
Rachel, who's your next Vegas wedding?
The Clover Chapel by Devney Perry. It's book 2 in Jameson Valley. It's second chance romance, and they get married in Vegas and then don't connect again until like 9 years later for a variety of reasons.
Were they divorced from their Vegas wedding?
No.
Oh, I love that.
And,
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that
so
much.
So that's part of the reason why they reconnect. And yeah, it's a lot of fun.
I know. Okay, Heather, who's your next Vegas wedding?
Mine is by Eden Finley and Saxon James, and it is Irresponsible Puck Boy. It is another hockey romance, but it's an hockey romance. They are 2 hockey players for the Vegas team. One of them is like commitment phobic, and they had the bright idea to like get married, and it becomes like this PR nightmare. And it's by Awakening, and Cinnamon Roll characters, Dax and Trip, are just, I think I've read this book like 4 or 5 times. I just love them. They're sweet. And
so my next one is funny. My next one is Sweet Filthy Boy by Christina Lawrence. It's part of her Wild Boys series. These are excellent audiobooks. Super spicy, super sexy, a little bit of angst, but it's kind of everything you want in a Vegas wedding kind of romance. And it's been around a while, so I think a lot of people have probably read it, but if you haven't, it's pretty good. Okay, so our Kelly Jameson pick for this category, because we have one, is Play to Win by Kelly Jameson. It is book 1 in the Win family series, and it is a they get married and then move to California together. Because she's running for mobsters and he's going to be a GM for his grandpa's hockey team. Anyway, really great series.
I know. Love it. There are so many amazing Vegas wedding, though. I mean,
there really are.
Do you want to give another one?
I stopped writing down. Kim Lorraine has a really great one. Wild Ride. They're like, it's almost like,
that is a really good one.
The Capulets, and like it's just there are these feuding families, and then they decide to get married in Vegas. Like no one's gonna notice.
I'll just make a separate post for the blog.
Of all your Vegas weddings. And maybe we just need to have a second episode after the first of the year that is nothing but all of our Vegas weddings.
For sure.
So we could talk about them all. Okay, so the next we're going to do is the wedding planner. And I think that this was a little more difficult to find wedding planners.
It was. I definitely agree with that.
Rachel, kick us off here.
So my first one is Wife by Wednesday by Catherine Bybee. It's the first book in the Weekday Bride series, and this
Mhm.
series is super unique because it's all like arranged marriages for a variety of reasons, political, business, whatever. And the first book is the owner of the matchmaking firm. So she is behind all of it, and she gets married, and the series is a lot of fun. I think it might be in KU because it's
Yeah, it is.
maybe
It's
Montlake.
Montlake. It's a really, really
So
good series. This is actually
yeah,
how
it's a
I
really
found her.
same. It's a really fun series.
Are those Fade to Black, or are they just
No.
more like mid-steam?
Mid, I say
Mid-steam.
mid.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like on
Yeah,
par
not
with like
Fade
a
to
Vi
Black, though.
Keeland mid-steam kind of feel. Okay.
They are also an any play if you are a any play reader.
Okay. I
or
like
listener.
that. Heather, who's a wedding planner for you?
Southern Bombshell by Jessica Peterson. That it is a her family owns this resort in the hills of South Carolina, North Carolina, and she has to plan a wedding for her ex-boyfriend. And
Awkward.
the ex-boyfriend's bride is very like, I don't really care, you two plan it. And they're like, this is awkward. And yeah, there is no cheating. I think that was one of the things about this book. I was hesitant. I think Rachel read it and she's like, there's no cheating. But it's like a second chance romance. But yeah, that whole series.
So good.
Leah, who's a wedding planner for you?
Okay, so my first one is Going Down on One Knee by Christina Hovland or Hovland. I don't know how to pronounce it, but this is Velma and Breck. Now, the difference is Breck is the wedding planner, not Velma. And it is Velma's sister's wedding that he's planning. So Breck's sister owns the wedding planning business. He's this tattooed biker who actually manages a rock band and comes home because his sister needs help. And he's a little rough around the edges, but it's really funny. And it's just a really funny story.
Funny book.
Again, like the wedding things, I find a lot of like rom-coms in them too.
I do think there are a lot of rom-coms around the weddings, just because it lends itself to the awkward situation, the kind of quirkiness.
Yeah, I noticed a trend when I was going through my books.
So my wedding planner, I'm just going to do mine back to back because it's actually a series of 4 books for each of them. So the first one is To Have and to Hold by Lauren Lane. It is 4 books. They own a wedding planning service, but they're all just wedding planners. And it is delightful. They are all friends and just lots of girl gang vibes. And it's a really well done series. This is trad pubbed. Yeah, I do like a girl gang. These are trad pubbed, and I found them in my library. And I do think they were on Hoopla, but I could be wrong. And then, as we all know, as you have listened to past episodes, and every book of the week for like the last 3 weeks was a Nora Roberts book, I reread The Bridal Quartet, which is a wedding reception and planning service that it's 4 books: the photographer, the florist, the cake person, and the wedding planner, and they all live in the thing. And the books are like 12 years old, but they still absolutely hold up and there's a reason Nora Roberts is queen. So those are my 2 wedding planners. Does anyone have another wedding planner they'd like to share out?
I do.
Okay.
The Proposal Playbook by Samantha Chase. It's in the Meet Me at the Altar series, and Meet Me at the Altar is like a wedding planning business, like full stop, everything like cake, wedding planning, proposal planning. And the Proposal Playbook was probably my favorite of the series. It's Grumpy Sunshine, no surprise. It's a Navy SEAL hero and then the wedding planner heroine, and it's a lot of fun. And those are lower steam books.
Yeah.
I binged the Southern Wedding series by Natasha Madison. So these sisters own a wedding venue, and they plan these elaborate weddings, and then they all get married. There's Jilted Bride, there's Runaway Bride, there's Jilted Groom, there's Runaway Groom. And these are steamy, like real steamy. And I listened to the audio and they were amazing. I think they're in Hoopla. So the Southern Wedding Series by Natasha Madison.
Okay, and I have one too. It is the Sunshine Sisters series by Jennifer Probst. They are in Kindle Unlimited. It's a Montlake book, but it is three sisters. They actually own the wedding boutique. One's a photographer, one does the planning, and the other one is she does the floral arrangements, I believe. Don't quote me on that. But it's they have like a couple other employees, but they own this little like niche boutique and they do it all. But it's a really good series. It's like mid-range steam, same as Catherine Bybee.
Yep. Should we tell Kelly Jamison's one in this series?
Okay, well, before I do Kelly Jamison's, I do want to say One Way Back to Me by Carrie Ann Ryan. She's a wedding planner, and it kicks off the Wilder family, and I'm a little obsessed with this series. So,
but just be prepared. All the brothers start with an E, so you will get them confused.
So confusing. So confusing. And actually, I was chatting with her the other day on Instagram, and she was like, I'm really mad at myself that I did this now. I'm like, yeah, I am too. But do you have the Kelly Jamison? I do.
I do.
What is it?
Back Check. So it's like a second chance romance. So she is the wedding planner in Chicago, kind of an up and coming wedding planner in Chicago. And he goes to the wedding because he's in it. And he's like, what are you doing here? And she's like, I'm the wedding planner. Because they were like boyfriend and girlfriend in college. And he like dumped her. And yeah.
So fun.
I
love
so
that
fun.
book.
And I think because it's set in Chicago, I love it so much.
But you know what? That whole Aces series is a series we don't talk about enough. And I really feel like we should talk about because it is just that good. And it's one of those kind of like the Cold Fury. The Chicago Aces and the Cold Fury are what kicked off my obsession with hockey romances.
Seriously, the Chicago Aces is my favorite series of Kelly's.
Yeah.
Like I like all the other ones, of course, but it's my favorite. I've probably reread it like 3 times.
We probably should pick one and do a quick shot on them because
that is a series. I think it's an old, like when I say older, I mean it's probably 7 years old.
2009, 2010, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So and
I think the last one came out in like 18 or 19.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a great,
but that was the last
Jackson Wins is a crossover from the Aces to the Win series.
Yeah.
Love it.
Me too.
Anyway,
it's weddings and hockey tonight, apparently.
Okay, so now we are going to the wedding party. So these are going to be people that are part of the wedding party. So bridesmaids, groomsmen, ushers, mothers of the bride, fathers of the bride, whatever your little heart desires to share. But somehow they would be connected to the wedding party. Okay, Heather kicks off.
I took mine from a previous one, so it's Slapshot. He's in the wedding and she's the wedding planner. Right? No, they're at the wedding together. Sorry. She's the bridesmaid and he is the grieving husband and they have a one-night stand.
Yeah.
From Kelly
Such a great book.
I know it is. And I don't have another one.
That's okay.
That's okay. I've got them all for you. So don't you worry. Rachel, what do you got for wedding party?
My first one is May the Best Man Win by Marilyn Kelly.
It's
about Emily and it is an older one, and it's about Jason and Emily, who are both in a bunch of their mutual friends' weddings, and they do not like each other at all. So it's a lot of fun banter. It's a really fun series. It's an older series, 4 books, but I really love all of the books.
Yeah. I think I like that because she has another one that's in that little series too. That's like Wake Up Married or something.
Yeah.
I think.
I don't remember what it's called. I'm terrible with names.
You're fine. Leah, what's one of your wedding party ones?
Okay, I'm actually going to give a series. It is the Wedding Dare series. It's actually by a collaboration of authors. It is, here, let me give you the author names. It is Diane Alberts, Tessa Bailey, Katie Roberts, Samantha Beck, and Laura Kay. It is all bridesmaids, and each story has a different dynamic. Some are like the one like book one is Second Chance, Enemies to Lovers. Like there's different dynamics in each story, but it's all bridesmaids of the same wedding, but it's a collaboration series and it's very good. It is traditionally published, so you do have to buy them, but I would think that they're probably, were they in the library? I don't remember.
Yeah, I think that they are. I think so.
So excuse me, check your library or Hoopla because you might find them there. But yes, the Wedding Dare series is very good.
So I also have a series of wedding party books. It is the Bachelors and Bridesmaids series from Barbara Feethy, and it is in Any Play. It's also in my library. This is a great series. It is 7 friends that are they met in college, and they promised that whenever they get married, no matter where they are, they were all going to come back and be each other's bridesmaids. And book 1 starts off with these 2 sisters are twins. The one is getting married and the other is the matron of honor, and she's also like an investigative journalist. Anyway, her hero is this kind of in hiding man of mystery, bachelor, billionaire. The word is escaping me. Anyway, Kiss Me Forever is the book, but the word I'm looking for is not, I cannot think of it at the moment. Anyway, the Bachelors and Bridesmaids series by Barbara Freethy is really, really good. Anyway, anybody else have another wedding party they want to share?
I do.
Go.
Simply Mine by Laura Pavlov. It's a new one. It comes out, we're recording early, but it'll be out by the time the episode airs. And it is a best friend's brother romance. And she's the maid of honor and he's the best man. And they had some interactions when they were teenagers, but nothing ever came of it. It's like unrequited crush. A lot of fun. I really like the Honey Mountain series. This is book 4. It's about 5 sisters, and this was a good one.
You talked about it in our small town episode. Yep. So, okay.
Hey, I have more.
Oh, you have more? Okay. Give your more.
I'm going to give 2 more. One is Reckless Suit by Alexia Chase. It is Damon and Chloe's story. It's an age gap, but Damon is the father of the bride. He's a silver fox. It is delightful. Like, he's divorced. The daughter
it's part of Cocky Hero. It is sexy.
It is such a good story. Like, the daughter is getting married, but she has this plan that her parents are still going to get back together, and he does not ever want that to happen. And he runs into this random person in the lobby of the hotel, and it's like, you're gonna be my date. And then it just kind of goes from there, and it is delightful. And then also Elise Faber has a Bad Wedding series. It is a group of bridesmaids. It starts with Bad Night Stand and it just kind of goes from there. But it is very good.
Those books are so good. That is how I found Elise Faber. And if you haven't read, my favorite in the series is The Bad Bridesmaid, and The Bad Wedding, because she's a jilted bride. But then he shows up 2 years later and he's like, sorry, I didn't mean to leave you. I thought you'd get the hints that I had to do it for your safety. Anyway, she gives it to him. But there's this thing with these brownies. I don't know. So I would be remiss if I did not mention Not Your Average Vixen by Krista Sandor. Yes. We're getting into holiday season. And if you haven't read Not Your Average Vixen, it is by far the absolute best Christmas romance that I have ever read. Super steamy, pops early, lots of sexy time.
And there's a scene with a funnel cake you don't want to miss.
Right. Edibles and funnel cake. It's delightful. Okay, so the last subcategory is the jilted bride or the jilted group. Did we have you did a Kelly Jameson for wedding party. Okay, we covered her for wedding party.
We did.
So who is your jilted bride or groom? So go first, Leah.
First I have Hotter Than Ever by Elle Kennedy, but she's recovering it and adding stuff. So I think she changed the title also. So the title might not be the correct title. So do not quote me on the title, but we will get the correct one on the website. But this is Claire, Dylan, and Aiden's story. It is a throuple. Swords do cross. It is delightful. But Claire was left at the altar, and then she is going to stay with her brother's best friend. And Dylan and Aiden have a relationship, but it's complicated, and Claire kind of gets thrown into the mix. But Dylan doesn't like Claire.
I forgot about this series.
There's a whole like threesome thruple series that she
Yes.
does. Like not all of them are a thruple, but there's threesomes in every book. It's such a hot series. It's so good, but she's revamping them a little bit. So
Okay.
yeah.
I found
The
this
new
in my
covers are
library
great.
years ago.
Uh-huh.
Mm,
Yeah.
Nice.
sounds right
so
up my
good.
alley.
But
Okay.
yeah, swords do cross, people.
Swords crossing. Rachel, do you have a jilted bride or a groom?
I do. Stunner by Jessica Prince. It's the third book in the Whiskey Dolls series. It's a jilted bride, shows up at a biker bar. The opening scene is hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
And then they hear her groom's best man. So it's like enemies to lovers, but kind of like unrequited crush. It's a really good book. It's a good
He
series.
pines because he has been
He
pining.
Yes. And it's the third book in the series, but I think it reads very well as a standalone, and it's in KU.
Mm-hmm.
It's good.
Heather, jilted bride, jilted
I have
groom.
a jilted groom.
Who's your jilted groom?
It is Thick as Thieves. It's an Astor Valley novel by Lucy Lennox. It's an romance. It is a jilted groom. He is left at the altar by his bride, and he goes away with his best friend, and they kind of his best friend's been in love with him, and he always thought he was straight. And it's a bi awakening, and these two are just really, really sweet, and they really care about each other, and they are truly like each other's best friends. And I just really love their relationship and their support system. It's great.
Okay, so Jilted Bride or Groom. This is actually a Jilted Groom. It is Jilted by Kelly Jamieson. It's actually a 4-book multi-author series about jilted. So book 1 is the Jilted Groom, and the bride that jilted him is book 4. And it's done by 4 different authors. Book 2 is in KU, but the other 3 books are not. And it's called the Promise Harbor Wedding series, and it's really good. Kelly Jamieson is in it, and Aaron Nicholas is the only other author that I recognize. The other 2 I haven't read before. But book 2 is like the sister of the Jilted Groom. Anyway, it's very good. Highly recommended if you haven't read that series. Do you have anybody else have another Jilted Bride or Groom to share? Go ahead, Rach.
Okay. Stone Princess by Debney Perry. It's part of the Clifton Forge motorcycle series, and she is a jilted bride. I don't want to spoil anything, but if you read the series in order, which you should, because there's overarching storylines, not just me being picky, hers is a story that you kind of get a glimpse at her fiance, and you're not a huge fan, so then you're a little relieved that the wedding doesn't happen, even though you feel terrible that she is left at the altar.
That is fair. So my current top read of 2022, In a Jam by Kate Canterbury, is A Jilted Bride.
Such a good book.
Such a good book. If you guys have not read this book, fucking chickens.
It's a single parent book also, but Imogen is the kid in the book, and she is hilarious and
potty
delightful,
mouth.
and she's a potty mouthed pirate, and she's just amazing.
So good. Yeah, I love that series. Okay, so I have a couple of one-off.
I have one more.
Okay, go ahead.
So Advice from a Jilted Bride. It is book 2 in Piper Rain's Bailey series. I love the Bailey series. It is delightful and amazing. This is Brooklyn and Wyatt's story. Wyatt is like a newcomer to Alaska. Brooklyn is left by text. Her fiance is a douche nozzle. We don't like him at all, but Brooklyn is wonderful and amazing. And I just really enjoy this series a lot. Okay.
So-
and now I'm done.
So I had a couple of others that I thought were just kind of one-offs that I haven't read a ton of, but I thought we should mention. So I have 2 Wedding Crashers. The first one is The Wedding Crasher by Mia Sosa. It is funny. It is very enemies to lovers. I really enjoyed that book. And then the other one is The Invitation by V. Keeland.
That's such a
is
good book. And
such a
honestly,
great
there's a
book.
scene in that book that is just hilarious because she gets put on the spot, but she runs with it.
And then I think that is it. I think that was all of them. I just wanted to mention that. So we do love a wedding. We hope you find some new books to add to your TBR. Because, I'm sure we'll have more again soon. Apparently we didn't get anywhere near all the Vegas weddings.
Or the Runaway Brides. Like I could talk Runaway Brides for days.
The Buzzing About Romance Girl Crush Tour is coming.
Yes, it is.
We are in the process of coming up with our girl crushes. You can vote for the community girl crush, which, wow, did I really spell that wrong, on our website until October 27th. The Girl Crush episode will drop on November 6th. There will be 7 of my girl crushes, 7 of Leah's girl crushes, and number 15 will be the community girl crush. So make sure you check out our website at buzzingaboutromance.com to get your vote in for the girl crush. Hey, Leah, guess what?
It's that time.
It's that time.
Book
of the week. Anyway, you guys should see everybody else rolling their eyes at Leah and I because we really get into Book of the Week. Because someday, never. We might get an echo. We're trying to be prepared for being fancy.
High hopes for that, though.
We're just trying to be fancy.
But nobody gets to see how we do Book of the Week. They can only hear it. But Becky and I, we really get into it.
We really do. We really do. Heather, what's your Book of the Week?
Well, we leave, Rachel and I leave for Vegas in like 10 days. So I'm reading Vegas authors, and I started reading Calla Riley. It's an author duo that is coming from, I think they're in Australia. They write mafia romance. And so I started back down this mafia hole, and I'm not sorry. They write, it's called the Syndicate series, and it is all different mafia. So it's the Bratva, it's the Italians, it's the Irish, it's the Japanese mafia. Love it. I'm on Nikolai right now. So good. And they're in KU.
Okay. Rachel, who's your Book of the Week?
My Book of the Week, between a few. I would say Gorgeous Monster by Charity Farrell. She usually writes contemporary romance, and I always love them, but she wrote her first mafia romance, and it's part of a series. It's kind of like Marriage of Convenience for the heroine's protection, but it's her best friend's dad, and her ex is part of a different syndicate, and he's a total idiot and but wants to kill her because she broke up with him. So
it's on my Kindle.
It's yeah, it's good, and
you do have to buy it.
It's darker than I expected. I don't know.
Well, it's pretty.
I mean, it's mafia, so I should have expected it to be dark.
Writes. But she even said she tried something new. She wanted to see how it went.
Yeah, it's not mafia light.
No,
it's not mafia light. That's really
Leah,
good.
What's your Book of the Week?
So I actually don't have a Book of the Week because I was rereading a bunch of stuff for this, but then since I was so focused on weddings, I went down a Lonnie Lynn Vale rabbit hole of series that I hadn't read yet. So I read the Uncertain Saints series because I was listening to wedding books and I couldn't focus on new stuff. So
Okay.
When in doubt, Lonnie Lynn Vale fills my bucket.
Fills your bucket. That's good.
Fills my
That's
bucket.
good.
What was your book of the week?
I read Bittersweet Promises by Carrie Ann Ryan. This is a new release that's coming out on October the 24th. And it's so good. It is so good. It's a second chance romance. She's a single mom, super smart, fated to love, I feel like, and misconnections. I don't know. It was really good. I was really
Well,
excited.
and this is second gen too.
It is second gen. And I will say, I think that is something that Carrie Ann Ryan does exceptionally well, her second gen, with all these branches of this big giant Montgomery family and everything. They just there's a lot of them. But you can read these absolutely individually and not be lost, because she does a good job of like explaining how big the family is, but she introduces very few. Like there's never 75 Montgomerys.
You came into the series like in a random place.
Yeah. Like I
this
do
is
best.
technically
because Becky
a
likes to
spin-off.
do
This
that.
is like a new, and the cover hot.
The cover
Just
is very
hot.
nice.
So hot. And Heather
All of her
made her
covers have
very
been really
first
good.
Instagram reel with the cover. So if you're not following MN Hockey Mom Reads on Instagram, you absolutely should, and check out her very first Instagram
She
reel.
popped her real cherry.
I even got props for my 15-year-olds. I feel like I've arrived, people.
Rock on. So our merch shop, we've opened a new merch shop at teespring.com. You can find long sleeve and short sleeve t-shirts along with sweatshirts. Our limited edition I Licked Him First Book Boyfriend t-shirt will only be available until mid-November. You can use promo code THEHIVE at checkout to receive 10% off your total order. So, if you would like to get one of the I Licked Him First Book Boyfriend t-shirts, you only have until mid-November to grab those. And then the Girl Crush t-shirt will go up on sale when that episode drops on the 6th.
Mm-hmm. There's some good ones going to be on it.
Ones. Leah, you got a Patreon update for us?
I do. We recently updated our Patreon perks. Some of our perks include monthly swag packs, bonus content like Should I Read It and Buzzing After Dark. And Becky just did a Buzzing After Dark with a delightful book that I made her read.
It was not delightful.
It was delightful.
It was naughty.
There was no plot. Just there you go.
So much sex.
But Drunk Book Club, merch discounts, quarterly reading journals, another round episodes, Coffee of the Month Club, and bi-monthly author roundtables. In November, we are hosting our next author roundtable discussion, and it will feature author A.L. Jackson. Her roundtable will take place on November 9th, and details can be found at patreon.com/bookcase and coffee.
Yeah. So I'm excited. Like the Patreon perks, I love all the new stickers, the Book Boyfriend Hoarder stickers. And I shared on my Instagram our reader cards that we send out every couple of months. And everyone was like, I love those. Those are so cool. So I will send you some every couple of months. Or if you need more and are desperate, I'll send them too. But if you're part of our Patreon, that's one of our perks, that you get some of our reader cards. But I am excited to announce that we are bringing back my favorite challenge from 2021, because it's my way of making everybody read the books I want them to read.
Well, the books that you need to read also.
The books I need to read also. So Clear the TBR Challenge starts on October the 24th. And in honor of the last few weeks of 2022, we are working hard to clear some of the books that have been on our shelves for too long. There are multiple ways to work your way through this challenge, and this event runs from October 24th through December 31st. We have several group reads planned, along with working on your own personal goal that you would like to read before the end of 2022. You can find details at bookcaseandcoffee.com/2022 Clear the TBR. Our very first group read will take place on November 2nd. And we are, November 2nd. And we are reading The Rules of Dating by Penelope Ward and Vi Keeland. So, and we have the Baby Proposition by Kim Lorraine is on the list, and 2 Weeks by Whitney G, or 2 Weeks Notice by Whitney G. What else is over there? I don't know.
I don't
There's
even know.
tons of books.
There's a lot of really good books.
But it is a way for me to make people read the books I need to read. So anyway.
Okay, so next Drunk Book Club is going to be November 12th. We are reading Rev to the Max by Melanie Moreland, and Melanie will be joining us for the evening. So if you would like details to come and hang out with us and Melanie Moreland for a couple hours or more, check out bookcaseandcoffee.com/drunk book club.
Yeah, so we, as we're recording this, we had Drunk Book Club the night before with Juliet Cross. So fun.
She was amazing
So fun.
and wonderful.
Drunk Book Club is by far the best night of the month. It is. It's great to just get to talk about books, but also get to talk to authors. And if you're looking for a spooky read and have not read the Stay a Spell series from Juliet Cross,
it is so good.
10 out of 10 recommend. Aiden Snow reads the audiobook, and it's amazing. And book 1 is called Wolf Gone Wild. And he's a werewolf that can't shift. And his inner dialogue with his wolf Alpha, like, makes the whole book. Like, I sent the entire book going, fucking Alpha, what else are you going to say? Like, this, it's so funny. He's like all your dirty thoughts in your brain. The
Drunk Book Club too, like, we play games, we talk book recs, we just talk life things too. So it's a safe space, and it's just a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun.
And we had the return of Dirty Pictionary. So
yeah,
it's always a good time.
Always a good time. So next time we are back with podcast contributors Carolina and Lindsay, and they are joining us to talk about those smoldering slow burn romances. We're going to talk about the chemistry of those and what it takes to make even me to love and recommend a slow burn, because you got to be good to get me in and not just make me mad. So slow burn is a hard sell for me. So
sometimes
we'll see how this goes, right? Anyway, you like a slow burn though, don't you?
It depends. Sometimes I do, and sometimes I get real crabby about it. It depends. If it makes sense, I don't care if it's a slow burn, but if it's a slow burn for the sake of being a slow burn, because for some reason an author wants to make you wait, then I get a little stabby.
Fair. I just get stabby, period, about them. You have to, it's very few authors that can keep me engaged in a slow burn. So we will be recommending all the slow burns on our next episode.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone, for sharing all of your great wedding book recs.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Until next time, everyone.
Happy reading, everybody.
Find us on Instagram at Buzzing About Romance or on Twitter at Buzzing Romance. If you like the podcast, please leave a review. If you'd like to support us directly, join the Bookcase and Coffee Patreon and receive exclusive content only available to Patreon members. Check out bookcaseandcoffee.com for our on-the-shelf show notes.